So we'll begin with lighting of our unity candle. And I remind you that I light this candle each week to represent that light of the divine that is within each and every one of us. When we turn our attention within, we allow Spirit to have that wonderful awareness within our lives and our awareness of Spirit as our source. So join me now as we open with a prayer. Turning within, I know that God is all there is. And as we come together as this spiritual community today, we come together in love and in joy. We come with open hearts and minds to be receptive for the message that Spirit has for us today. So I speak a word of blessing on this service, knowing that it unfolds perfectly and that each one of us receive that information, that intuition, and that wisdom from Spirit that is meant for us through this service today. So I bless our time, I bless this technology that connects us, and I bless the world as we make a difference by showing up as Spirit in action. I release my word and we seal it by saying together, and so it is. So welcome to the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Rick McCollum, and I am happy to share my screen here and let you know that we are an inclusive community that honors all paths to the divine. We recognize that there are many ways for people to have an experience of the God of their understanding. So we want you to know that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you're welcome here with us. And we're glad that you're here today. Now we will move to our opening song, and this is Reaching Higher by the Reach 2 Academy Children.
Yeah.
And now we reach higher as we turn to our time of spiritual reading and meditation by Pat Ferguson, our practitioner of the week.
Hello, everybody. As practitioner of the day, I always look for a reading that correlates with what Reverend Rick's going to talk about. And sometimes, actually, oftentimes, I write my own because I can't find something that says exactly what I feel needs to be said to be an appropriate complement to his message. His message today is entitled, excuse me, Transcend and Include. So when I got started looking for something to share with you, I realized I didn't know enough about the subject itself to intelligently try to even find an appropriate reading. So now what? I thought. Well, it seemed appropriate to educate myself. And I knew I had to learn how to define transcendence before I tried to talk about it. So here we go. First, let's ask ourselves, what does it mean to transcend? Who can transcend? What is self-transcendence? What does it mean to be spiritually transcendent? And on came the questions, along with some exciting answers. The first two questions are pretty easy. The short definition of transcend is to rise above something. And anyone can transcend. So now let's focus on self-transcendence and spiritual transcendence. One of the definitions of spiritual transcendence is the perceived experience of the sacred that affects one's perception, feelings, goals, and ability to transcend one's difficulties. I already understood from readings and classes that I had done before that spiritual transcendence, or sometimes called cosmic consciousness breakthroughs, can happen to anyone and can happen anywhere, at home, at work, out in nature, here at church, anywhere, you name it. Spiritual transcendence gives us a glimpse of something beyond our human reality, something intangible, but at the same time, very real, real enough to drastically alter our perceptions of not only ourselves, but of our world. That's pretty cool, right? I considered that definition for a while and how it related to me personally. Certainly, I had had experiences, sacred experiences, and they had affected my feelings and goals, and to some degree, my ability to go beyond and rise above my own difficulties. But I was pretty certain I needed more work in that area. Yet after reading all this information, I felt pretty good about being on the right track. But what about self-transcendence, which is defined as the ability to rise above difficulties put in place by self-made obstacles and unnecessary boundaries? This term caused me to contemplate more things, the things that hold me back, and helped me realize that many of the things I felt were roadblocks in my life were placed in front of me by my own thinking, actions, or lack of actions. If you can relate to that, just know that you and I are still works in progress. Going deeper into the topic of transcendence, I discovered that back in 1940, Abraham Maslow did extensive research studying people who attained great success, such as Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, the Roosevelts. And he concluded that every human has needs and that these needs are tiered, are stair-stepped. They come about in a hierarchy, and each subsequent need can only be addressed after the need before it has been satisfied. This theory came to be known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it had 5 steps. Those steps are from the bottom up: physical needs, the need for safety, the need for love and belonging, the need for esteem, and the need for esteem, and lastly, the need for self-actualization, or the need to achieve one's full potential. Later in life, he added a sixth need, self-transcendence, the need to connect with something bigger than ourselves. So right here, I'm going to interject a personal footnote. I believe I stand before you as an example of someone who proves that you don't have to completely move out of one step to be in another. You can be grasping for that and still be in the one below. I know I am still working on my self-actualization, my full potential, but I also know I definitely have a great need to connect to something bigger than myself. As I look all around at these frames on Zoom, your beautiful faces, I see everyone here as the definition of a person who has a need to connect to something bigger. Because we're here, I can know that. Because we question the norm to get here, I can know that. So each of you has already moved up this hierarchy in an incredible way. You are transcending. You are, as Reverend Rick talked about last week, reaching higher. You already know that there is more, and you know that you are worthy, and it is available to you for the asking and the believing. We humans often knowingly and unknowingly put ourselves down. I have caught myself saying things like, who do I think I am? I'm just an old lady with grandkids. I'm nothing special. Why do I have these lofty dreams? No wonder my friends think that I have weird ideas about the way things work. Do you ever put yourself down with similar thoughts? If you do, don't. Stop doing that. By virtue of your belief in this spiritual philosophy, you are further along in your transcendence than many others, and they will never understand you until they get to where you are. Do not dim your light because someone else doesn't yet know that it's possible for them to shine just as brightly. And consider this, don't wait for them, because as you rise higher, your vibration becomes higher, and it will naturally and organically bring theirs up. If you're around people who bring you down, it's because you have allowed that. They cannot do that without your permission, but you can lift them up by holding steady in your elevated beliefs. So I hope you have a better idea of transcendence and where you fit into it. You can leave here today delighted, confident, and more transcendent than when you arrived this morning. You are in the company of Thoreau and Emerson, Hopkins, and Holmes. Because you are reaching and overcoming and moving beyond the petty trials and tribulations of life into a greater and deeper and higher understanding of your own life and consciousness. You know things. I thank God for people like you who are making a difference right now, today. Yes, you. Right where you are, in the time and space you occupy and operate from, you make a difference. Do not shrink from your role model duties. The world needs you and many more like you to embrace higher consciousness. Give yourself a pat on the back. You are already in the process of spiritual transcendence, and it shows for all the world to see. You, my friends, are epically magnificent. And so it is. Now, I'm going to do a little quick meditation here. We're going to do a meta meditation. And Reverend Rick, part of the topic today is transcend and include. So we're going to give some of our great energy and love and compassion to others and include them in our vibration and lift them up. So as a meditation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you some images to think about in your mind, and we're going to say 4 short phrases. I'll give you time to say them to yourself between, and then we'll move on to the next group, like flipping images on your phone. So relax yourself where you are. Breathe deep and feel that beautiful breath. And the first image that I ask you to bring up will always be the image of yourself. Think about yourself either when you were a child or a teenager or now. But picture that image and surround it with love and light, compassion and forgiveness, tolerance, all kinds of kindness. And say these words. May you be happy and healthy. May you be abundant. May you be safe and free. And may you live with ease and grace. Next, think about a group of people, your loved ones. Maybe you have one in particular in mind, or maybe your family group, your extended family. Whatever you picture, wrap that image with as much love and peace and forgiveness and gratitude. And say these words. May you be happy and healthy. May you be abundant. May you be safe and free. And may you live with ease and grace. The next group is a group of people you may just see around the neighborhood or in the grocery, or mild acquaintances. Also include your friends. But this is a varied group and a big group. But it's an important group because every person is struggling. Every person is trying to lift themselves, and to one degree or another, they are succeeding. Maybe slowly, maybe not. Surround this entire group with as much love and compassion and understanding and peace that you can muster. And say these words. May you be happy and healthy. May you be abundant. May you be safe and free. And may you live with ease and grace. Our last group is the group that is the biggest of all beings everywhere. All beings, some just rising, some going to bed, some living in peace and some living in chaos. All matter of peace, all matter of chaos, and everything in between. Someone is there somewhere. And we spread to them our vibrations of love and kindness and peace and happiness, laughter and joy, all good things. And we say these words. May you be happy and healthy. May you be abundant. May you be safe and free. And may you live with ease and grace. And as we return to our thoughts, we know that things everywhere are affected by our attitude, and we are grateful for what we know and grateful for sending it out to other people. So as we come back together, I say thank you, I am grateful, and so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. And now we move to our special music for today. And this is I Am My Own Hero by the group Fearless Soul.
I am perfectly capable of creating a life I love. I am learning to trust myself and make peace with what I can't control. I always have a say in who I am today, and I can always change who I'm becoming. This is my life. I am my own hero. Nobody but me can decide where I will go. This is my time. No matter what life throws, I always have the power to change my state of mind. This is my life. This is my life. Owning all of my past mistakes, moving forward with more confidence. I don't know what the future holds, but I choose to count my blessings every day. I always have a say in who I am today, and I can always change who I'm becoming. This is my life. I am my own hero. Nobody but me can decide where I will go. This is my time. No matter what life throws, I always have the power to change my state of mind. This is my life. This is my life. I will never win by holding on to pain. Happiness begins within. Day by day I will keep building my future. Nothing can get in my way. This is my life. I am my own hero. Nobody but me can decide where I will go. This is my time. No matter what life throws, I always have the power to change my state of mind. This is my life. I am my own hero. Nobody but me can decide where I will go. This is my time. No matter what life throws, I always have the power to change my state of mind. This is my life. This is my life. This is my life. This is my life. This is my life.
This is your life. And do you realize that you always have the power to change your state of mind? when you live your true, authentic life, you are magnificent, and you are your own hero. Now, you don't have to be a mountain-moving force. You only have to step into the infinite power of Spirit living as you. Don't apologize for who Spirit created you to be. You're not like anyone else. You're unique, and you are magnificent. Today, we're continuing our talk series on reaching higher. In Science of Mind, we understand that as spiritual beings having a human experience, we live on 3 planes: the physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane. Now, on the physical and the mental planes, we might find ourselves feeling limited by our 5 senses and by our physical experiences. Isn't that typically how we all relate to life? Through our senses and our experiences? Well, today I want to consider how we might transcend the physical and the mental planes that tend to limit our experience of life, and how we can rise above this world of effects. This is our work on the spiritual plane, as Pat talked about in her reading today. To transcend or reach higher in the conscious realm of spirit. And in this realm of spirit, it's where we can be our own hero. So today's talk is Transcend and Include. I want to begin by explaining that on the mental plane, it's usually our ego that's driving our thinking. And then whatever we think, our actions follow. So that's the physical plane. Now, many people on a path to self-improvement, to self-understanding, will work to study and understand our egos. The goal here is often to understand when it's good for the ego to lead us and when we can choose to create a different response in life. Remember, we are always at choice. And as the song talked about, we have the power to change our state of mind. Where do we want to transcend to? Now, I just want to be clear here that the ego is not all bad. I think many times ego gets a bad rap, especially from people on a spiritual quest, when in fact it's our ego that's been very helpful. It's kept us alive. It's helped us to cope with life and whatever we have been through. It's helped us to survive up until this very day in our life. So the ego can be good. As spiritual beings, we want to look at the ego from the standpoint of how it could limit or obstruct us. So just a little shift in our perception, we can awaken to when our lives are being driven by our ego. And then we can choose if we want to transcend our consciousness. We need to remember that we have a body, but we're not our body. We're more than our physical manifestation. I had a teacher that used to open his meditations with words like, I acknowledge that I have a body, but I am not my body. I acknowledge that I have a mind, but I am not my mind. I am more than my body or my mind. His guided meditations would focus me on transcending the physical and mental planes, and it allowed me that space to drop into an awareness of spirit as omnipresent. Going deeper and deeper into his meditation was very liberating. With my physical being transcended, I was totally focused on my unity with spirit. I know and could feel that God is all there is. I knew with certainty that I am part of that infinite presence of spirit. I knew that spirit was all of me and Spirit was much more than just me. In this transcendent consciousness, I could see in my mind's eye and feel in my heart of hearts the great diversity of life, of physical expressions by people, animals, plants, rocks, trees, all of nature. It was all expressing spirit and infinite expressions. Now, I'll tell you that many people like this transcendence. They're not worried about their form, their body. But be cautious here, because even our ego can jump in here. Our ego can say, I like this. I'm safe here. I'm untouched by anything. No one's attacking me or threatening me. And for some, this meditation can be an escape from life. So the key in life is always balance. Is your life balanced? In the Bible, Psalms 23 talks about, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord. Now, when we dwell in a place, I don't know about you, but I think for most of us, we don't really use that term much, dwell. Well, it means that we live there. And when we live there, we go in and out as the rhythm of life moves us. We can say we dwell in our homes, but we do move in and out of them, don't we? We go to the grocery, we go to the mailbox, we go to the doctor, we go to visit others. Now, dwelling in the house of the Lord, in metaphysical terms, the word Lord means our higher thoughts or spiritual thoughts. So dwelling in the house of the Lord is talking about living in the consciousness of higher spiritual thoughts. You might think of it in terms of living with thoughts of love, of good. We dwell in the thoughts of love and good. When we go in and out of our days with these thoughts, then we move from that time of meditation, if you will, or spiritual consciousness. We move on to focusing on fixing dinner, or cleaning the house, or changing the oil in the car, whatever chores we have to do. At another point, we will move back into that consciousness of love and goodness. Our goal is to learn that balance, the rhythm of life, if you will, that carries us forward in positive ways. Now, I'm saying this to encourage you and help you realize that you are a body, and that body needs to be fed, cleaned, cared for. If you spend all of your time in meditation, you will not have a balance in your life. So get this. Yes, as much as I talk about spiritual practice, we have to find that balance. And are you listening to your ego, who might be saying it's safe in this meditative state, so why don't I just stay here? Even when that happens, we're being driven by our ego. So a spiritual practice can get twisted into something that's not focused on the best balance in our life. Now, hear me. I'm not saying don't meditate. Yes, I am saying meditate. But realize that that's not where you dwell all the time. You move in and out of that spiritual practice. I heard a guru talking about this, and he said when our ego steps in and tries to get us to stay in that meditative state, that transcendent consciousness, we can begin to see our relationships and our work relationships fall apart because we're not balanced in our life. This meditation guru was saying we have to engage with life, and not being engaged with the people around us any longer can cause problems. It can cause your relationship to fall apart. It can cause your work to no longer be not only satisfying, but no longer available because your employer may not want you if you're not being engaged. I love the story of the yogi who was interviewed, and they asked him, "What did you do before enlightenment?" His answer was, "Chopped wood and carried water." Then they asked him, "Well, now what do you do that you have achieved enlightenment?" And his answer, "Chop wood and carry water." So the transcendence that I'm talking about here is not just sitting on your meditation pillow all the time, but it's taking time to meditate and then allow Spirit to guide you into action. As spiritual beings, how can we live love during our day? How can we share acts of kindness with people around us, with the world that needs that touch of the divine that we are as unique expressions? Mother Teresa said, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love." Do your chores with great love, knowing that you're doing everything for God, because God's all there is. So if you're doing something for your family, for yourself, aren't you really doing it for God? Because you are an expression of God. Your family is an expression of God. Now, I have a sense that some of you might be thinking, "But Reverend Rick, I'm not that kind of a person. I'm only me. I can only do so much." Well, this past week, I heard a woman say, "I love being a part of the CSL community, but everyone here is so creative and talented. When we met in person," she said, "I was not creative or talented, so all I could do was bake cookies and bring them to the group." Now, I saw that as a creative talent. You see, we all have different gifts that are ours to bring into the world. Our truth is, we are unlimited. And we're the ones that limit ourselves, that try to stay connected to our physical body. And, we do have a body, so literally we can't be in several places at once, unless maybe you consider when you're on Zoom. But think of it in this way. I got this from one of our meditations in the Science of Mind magazine. We're like the number 2. The number 2 is limited in what it is. We're bound within a certain range of what is ours to do. The number 2 is not expected to be a 7. I'm not expected to be an Olympic athlete or an Indian yogi. But when 2 is modified by adding a 5, it becomes 7. Flour by itself is flour. But add eggs and sugar, and it becomes cookies or a cake. Just as clay with water and some pressure from our hands can become cups, saucers, and sculptures. When we act in concert with other expressions of God, we take that limit and turn it on its head. We find that in reality, what was perceived as a limit is actually a limit only when it's viewed by one small vantage point. So we want to reach higher in our consciousness. We want to transcend our perceived limitations, to see how as spiritual beings, as we come together, we are limitless. As spiritual beings having a human experience, we need others so that we can magnify all the good that's around us. We're social creatures. And of course, this has added to the stress that we feel that COVID has brought and our sheltering in place, which we can see as a limitation, or maybe we can view it from the vantage point of finding new ways to relate to people. like our Zoom services. As we grow spiritually, we find it easier to transcend the physical world and allow the good of God to bless us in new and different ways than before. We can live from a consciousness of gratitude for the diversity of life around us. We're not all like the number 2. Thank goodness we're not all alike. How boring would the world be? We all are at different places on our spiritual path, and so that's how we encourage each other to grow. I saw a posting on Facebook this week. It was a mother who was sharing a story about her experience at a Target store. She told about her 2-year-old who she was potty training. She told her little girl that if she went to the potty all week and had no accidents, that she would be able to pick out a prize. The girl had a great week, no accidents, and so Mom took her to Target to pick out a prize. She said, of course, my daughter chose a doll. She included a picture with her post of her daughter, who was white, and she was holding a doll that was black. Mom said when they got to the checkout counter at Target, the cashier asked the little girl if she was going to a birthday party. The girl was confused by the question and said no. The checkout lady said, well, was her doll for someone else? And the little girl was again confused by the question. So Mom stepped in and explained that this was a prize for the girl going to the potty all week and not having any accidents. The clerk leaned over the counter and said, oh, honey, we have a lot of dolls here. Don't you want one that looks like you? The little girl was again confused by the woman's questions. The clerk said, I can help you find a doll here, one that will look just like you. Now Mom was getting irritated with the cashier, but the little girl jumped in and said, oh, she does look like me. She's a doctor. See her stethoscope? I'm a doctor. I have a stethoscope. Thank goodness at that point the cashier dropped the conversation and rang up the doll. I don't think that cashier had transcended in consciousness to see that we are all one. She was seeing different colors and was trying to direct the child to see the differences. The little girl was a little more evolved. She saw that they were both alike because the doll was a doctor like her. Where would you be better served in your life to transcend the limitations of the physical and mental planes and focus on the unity we have as spiritual beings? Do you realize that as you join your consciousness with other God-conscious people, we are limitless? Now, we can certainly borrow fear from others. When we hear people talking about all the negative things going on around them, can't we get pulled into that feeling of fear and depression? What if we committed to transcending that consciousness and set our focus on the good of life? What if we borrowed faith and a positive expectancy from others on our spiritual path? That's what we get as we share together as a spiritual community. In The Science of Mind, on page 147, Ernest Holmes writes, there is then no limitation outside of our own ignorance. And since we can all conceive a greater good than we have so far experienced, we all have the ability to transcend previous experiences and rise triumphant above them. But we shall never triumph over them while we persist in going through the old mental reactions. This is saying to me that I must transcend my old way of thinking and how I limited myself if I'm going to change my life to manifest the good that God is offering me each day. Change your thinking, change your life. That is really our motto. I was talking with Tammy Seppenfeld this week, and she shared some wisdom with me. She said, I don't look backwards because I'm not going that way. I love that. I don't look backwards because I'm not going that way. What direction are you looking in life? If you're looking backwards, is that really the way you're going? You're going to stay limited by your past experiences. And do you really want to limit your life like that? Or do you want to look forward? Do you want to put your energy with that of other people on a God-conscious path so that you allow your magnificence and the limitless life to be your experience? This week, I want to encourage you to take some time to contemplate how can you transcend to the spiritual consciousness of God, to the good each day. As a spiritual community, together we are limitless. Let us pray. We pause and breathe in this message. Thank you, Spirit, for speaking to each one of us in your own unique way. As we open our minds and our hearts and receive your message, as we allow ourselves to be fully present, to be fully awake and aware that we are a unique individual expression of that God life, of God the good, the infinite possibilities. And we know that as we come together as a spiritual community, as we support each other, as we allow our stories to be shared, we encourage one another to reach higher in our consciousness, to be reminded that we are more than just our bodies, that we are more than just the past experience, and we have possibilities for good and more good to continue to show up in our life. So we open ourselves to the more of Spirit, recognizing that this is the truth of each and every one of us. I am grateful. And I release my word into that spiritual law that always says yes. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Reverend Rick. Now we're going to go into our prosperity time, and it's time to have our lovely little basket here with all your beautiful notes that you've sent me over the weeks and months. In the chat, I have put the prosperity affirmation this month, and Vernon has put information. So if you want to Zelle or PayPal a donation, all the information's there, and your checks can be mailed to the address in the chat as well. One thing I would like to say, please know that every donation that comes in, whether it comes through Zelle, Givelify, PayPal, or a check, is blessed. And I don't know how much blessing power I have, but I sure do give it a lot of thought and a lot of effort when it comes in. So you must feel that, I'm sure. Vicki has her basket too to support. So join me. We'll say the prosperity affirmation twice. I'll say it once, and then you can say it out loud with me. I am a limitless being living in Spirit's abundant supply. Yes. Say it with me. I am a limitless being living in Spirit's abundant supply. Yes. And Reverend Rick, would you like to bless?
Absolutely. Knowing that as we give, we also receive, we open ourselves and our life to that abundance and that good of spirit. I bless this offering. I bless each giver, and I bless the work that it goes forward to do in this world. We are grateful. We are limitless. We are God in action. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to announcements. We'll give Rick a little time to pull up our screen. And we have just recently had one of these mission and vision meetings where we're talking about what LCSL means to us, and we're hearing your ideas so that we can, as a board and a leadership team, come together with a new vision and a new mission statement based on what you see as this community strong points and what brought you here. So it was a great meeting we had, I think it was Thursday. And this one coming up is Tuesday, September 14th at 3:30 p.m. In case you can't make an evening one. So join us if you can. Same Zoom link that got you here. And we will do this again, and we will compile everything we hear, note keywords, and put together something that we hope represents and reflects who we are spiritually in this community. Next, before I talk about this, I'm going to switch to Vicki, and Vicki has an announcement we don't have a slide for, I think.
Thank you, Pat. Just one little thing about the mission and vision, that 3:30 is Eastern time. So if you live in a different time zone, please convert to be able to be with us on time.
Yes.
And what I have is very exciting. I just found out the details of this today. Some of you may recall that a lovely lady named Lita Miller is an extended member of our community. She lives in Kansas City, and she has been a practitioner of science of mind, and now she is a professional yoga teacher, and she's doing a book study, and she wanted to invite you all. It actually starts on Tuesday, the 26th of September. I'm sorry, Tuesday, the 28th of September. And so that's why we wanted to start announcing this, even though we don't have a slide yet. The book is called The Way Out, and it's about healing chronic pain. And she is very impressed by the information, and it's, I think, a 6-week book study. It's going to go from the 28th of September to the 2nd of November, and the cost is just $50. So for those of you who've been asking for a book study, if you're interested, let me know, and I'll be happy to get you in touch with Lita. And I'm sure it's going to be an excellent opportunity. Lita is very invested in what she does, and I know from experience she's an excellent yoga teacher, and she will be able to impart the principles in this book and help people find some relief and some ways moving forward to be more in touch with your body. So just let me know by email, or even and sharing time today. Just let me know if you want to be in touch with you.
Okay, thank you, Vicki. Now, board meeting is this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you can join us, our board meetings are always open to all of you. Don't hesitate to come and see what we do. It lasts about 2 hours, and we go through a plethora of topics, and you can see more about how we work. Okay. Men's group, again, on the 16th, which is Thursday. So please, gentlemen, if you'd like to participate, it's the same Zoom link. Just join at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, convert as necessary to wherever you are, and join these gentlemen. I have no idea what they do. I wish I could tell you, but they won't let me attend. So, but I think they have a nice time. So join them and find out. And next Sunday, this beautiful woman will be our speaker, Reverend J.J. Giaducci, and she is the Inclusion and Social Justice Minister at CSL Greater Cincinnati. I can't wait to hear her. JJ became a practitioner, got her license the same day that Rick and I did, and she and Rick just blew right past the rest of us and became ministers. So I can't wait to hear all the things she has to talk about. So be sure and catch that next week. And one more that I don't think Rick has, or I don't know if he has a slide on this, but we've mentioned the Kroger rewards and signing up for that. I wanted to remind everybody that Amazon.smile is the same Amazon, but you can sign up for a charity and put Louisville Center for Spiritual Living in there. And we do get a quarterly check from them as well. There's no fees associated with it. The price of everything's the same, but they just cut us a little check. So if you've already signed up, thank you. And if you haven't, maybe check it out next time you're on Amazon. My last thing to say, I'm going to repeat what I said at the end of my talk, and that is, you are epically magnificent, and don't forget that. Thank you. Reverend Rick.
Thank you, Pat. And now we move to our closing song, which is Love Train by the OJs. And now know that as you go from this meeting, you go riding that love train, being that expression of God, being that limitless opportunity to share love, joy, and peace with the world around you. Be blessed and be a blessing this week. And so it is.